had the time, and at the time that your bell expired, I stood up and told you to sit down. Now, Mike Sabin.
I can see the member's point, Mr. Speaker. It was such a ripper little contribution. I'm sure he wanted to get a little sing-song in there before he concluded. Never mind, his contribution was second only to the fantastic discussion, the chitter-chatter from the member of the Greens from Fantasy Island that she seems to be domiciled on. But Mr. Speaker, let's get down to this budget. This fourth national budget, which is about staying on track to the four key priorities that this nation needs, Mr. Speaker. This is about responsibly managing the government's finances. This budget is about building a more competitive and productive economy. This budget is about ensuring we have better public services, and this budget is about rebuilding Christchurch, Mr. Speaker. These are decisions that have been made that reflect the challenges that this nation faces in these tough, uncertain global economic times, Mr. Speaker. Of course, the first challenge that we were confronted with was the fact that New Zealand was going into recession back in 2007 after 8 years of Labour government, a Labour government that seemed to think that growing government is akin to growing the economy, Mr. Speaker. So when we went into recession, Mr. Speaker, what we'd faced was Labour squandering the good times, zero growth in the tradable sector, massive growth in the government sector, and a whole big bunch of lolly scrambles and bribes to make their way back into power. That was the picture, Mr. Speaker. So when the global credit crisis actually did strike, and one Mr. Cullen and one Miss Clark were last seen exiting stage left, what we saw, Mr. Speaker, was the Labour Party scrambling, or what was left of them, scrambling to get back onto their high horses of opposition to blame us for the mess that they'd made. Oh, what a surprise. Labour and the members in that corner of the House have never known a better time to be in opposition, Mr. Speaker. And why is that? They know that they want to be able to blame the National Party for everything that's going on in the country and the world. And they see plenty of opportunities to do that, Mr. Speaker, because in Labour land, there is no global credit crisis, Mr. Speaker. In Labour land, we haven't taken a 10% hit on our GDP following the devastating earthquakes in Christchurch. In Labour land, Mr. Speaker, the government is to blame for all of this. Not Mother Nature, not the global credit crisis, but you watch this space on the Christchurch, Mr. Speaker. You watch this space on Christchurch, because when growth starts to pick up down there, what you'll hear is the Labour bench saying, oh no, there's only growth because of what's happening in Christchurch. Suddenly, Christchurch will be back in the frame, Mr. Speaker, where you can't have it both ways. Plain and simple. You try, sorry, Mr. Speaker, the members try, but they can't have it both ways. The truth of the matter is that lots of people on that side of the House think it's a pretty good time to be in opposition because it's all care and no responsibility. They don't have to deal with the challenges. They wouldn't have the gumption to do it anyway. Well, Kiwis have woken up to this, Mr. Speaker. They've woken up to it, and while these guys are playing politics, Kiwis are out there getting on with it. Kiwis are out there doing what they know needs to be done. Then the households have made the adjustments, the businesses have made the adjustments, and we've supported them to do just that. We've supported them to take those rough edges off the recession by continuing to invest in infrastructure, by continuing to invest in health, by continuing to invest in science and innovation, by continuing to invest in 21st century schools, by continuing to invest in economic growth in tough times, Mr. Speaker. When it all boils down, what we have done is what Kiwis want and need. We've set a course back to surplus, Mr. Speaker, despite the headwinds that crowd don't have to sail against. We've set a course and we've stayed to that unfalteringly. That's about recognising, Mr. Speaker, what the right decisions are and having the fortitude to actually make them. because on this side of the house you actually have to do that. That's about having a clear plan focused on getting back to surplus and sticking to it. Mr. Speaker, that's about making tough decisions, because that's what New Zealanders want and need from us. And that is leadership, Mr. Speaker. That is leadership. That is John Key's leadership, and that is a leadership that resonates with New Zealanders. It's also the reason that the polls are about 20 points apart, and have been for 3 or 4 years, like a set of railway tracks, because New Zealanders know how important it is to stick to the course. New Zealanders know we need a more productive economy to actually grow jobs. They don't grow in trees, you need a more productive economy. New Zealanders know, Mr. Speaker, that we need more efficiency from our public services. New Zealand knows that we need to manage the government finances as well as we possibly can, Mr. Speaker, because that's their money. New Zealanders get that. New Zealanders get that. But on Labour land, they don't. How do we know they don't? Oh, because in Labour land, they oppose everything that we're doing to try and grow the economy. They oppose $1.5 million investment in UFB. They oppose the mixed ownership model. They oppose roads of national significance, as do the Greens, of course. They oppose more mining and gas exploration. They impose investment in 21st century schools. They oppose public sector reforms. They oppose the 90-day probation period. They oppose tax reform. They oppose welfare reform. They oppose. There's a bit of a theme creeping through, Mr. Speaker. Well, they've had a change of leadership, although the 3 days can't quite sort out what's going on from there. And they're trying to reinvent themselves, Mr. Speaker. The Labour Party are trying to reinvent themselves. You can also participate in that, Mr. Speaker, if you like.
No.
As can any member of the public, by simply tuning into their website and giving them a pound of your flesh and giving them your views. Mr. Speaker, but what is the Labour Party plan? Well, nothing much has changed in Labour land. Nothing much has changed at all, because their plan is about milking businesses dry. Mr. Speaker, more capital gains tax. Their plan is about increasing the minimum wage. Their plan is about abandoning the 90-day probation for employers. Their plan is about returning to the 1970s industrial relations laws. Their plan is about accelerating farmers' entry into ETS. Their plan is about doubling employers' contributions to KiwiSaver. Their plan is about raising interest rates and more borrowing. Their plan is about milking the business community dry. Milking them dry! Well, when the Labour Party may be stuck in something of a time warp, back in the utopian years of the mid-2000s, Mr. Speaker, but the rest of New Zealand has passed them by. So what are we doing, Mr. Speaker? What's this government doing? Well, we're on track to be back in surplus 2014-2015. One of the few developed countries that's not increasing its public debt. We've created over 60,000 new jobs in the last 2 years, Mr. Speaker. Mortgage rates at a 45-year low. Tax cuts across the board. More doctors, nurses and frontline police officers. This economy has grown 9 out of 10 quarters. This economy is looking at 2% growth in this calendar year, 3% projected 2014. That equates to 154,000 new jobs, Mr. Speaker. So what are we doing to keep this going, Mr. Speaker? Well, we're making sure that we're achieving savings to invest in health and science and education in a more productive economy. We're focusing on the efficiencies that government programs need to deliver and reprioritising $4.4 billion as a result of that to deliver better public services for less. Mr. Speaker, we're tackling the welfare trap. We're putting $148 million into supporting young people on a collision course with benefits, because if they can work, we want to make them ready for work and get them into work, Mr. Speaker. This budget is about keeping on course and investing in New Zealanders. This budget has been about investing in our economy without increasing spending, far from a zero budget, Mr Speaker. This budget has been about delivering for New Zealanders, and that's what we'll continue to do. I commend it to the House.
I call Sue Moroney.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and no wonder that member was struggling to